Are vegans taking over the world? How do you feel about your mood being stolen during a job interview? And has cannabinoid hypermesis syndrome got you in a bind?
All this and more on this week's edition of the Weekly Bazaar. We haven't figured out how we're going to start this show yet, have we?
No. But you know what? It's week number 2 for the Weekly Bazaar, so welcome. And if you didn't listen last week, we'll run down exactly what we do during the show. And it's basically talking about the news you should be listening to. I've coined that phrase so much this week. I like it. So there's a lot of bad stuff going on in the world with America and the UK and France bombing the shit out of Syria and all sorts of horrible stuff, but we don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about the fun kind of news that we've managed to gather up during the week. And I've got a few stories. Sorry.
The things that really matter are all that we care about here on this show.
Exactly. And I like last week's show. It was brilliant. And I think we should go straight into it because, yet again, there's someone else trying to take over the world. And you may have heard me in the intro talking about vegans. How much do we all love vegans? Garrett's like, we all know someone.
Do I tell the truth or do I potentially, try to sugarcoat things for certain people out there that do you
know what? There are some people that just get on with it. We both know. Justin. He's a long friend of yours, and he just gets on with it.
Yeah.
He's not He's not running around trying to get people to sign up to the vegan lord. He's just getting on with it. He prefers to be vegan, and he gets on with it. But there's some people that try and force it on some, and it's becoming quite a thing right now. And I found a story this week about a mom that wasn't very happy with the nursery. Or kindergarten, I suppose, as you want to call it in America. And basically...
Well, kindergarten is the first official grade a child goes to when they enter the public school system.
Okay, so nursery's before then.
So preschool.
Preschool. And basically, the owner of the nursery came back after being on maternity and then decided to put all the children on a compulsory vegan menu. And... if it was a choice and said you could choose to be vegan, that's great, because there's so many dietary needs for people nowadays that, that's a great choice to have. But to make it completely compulsory, bitch, you're a Nazi.
Yeah, the last thing we need in this world, we've got actual legitimate Nazis and fascist individuals that want to oppress the majority of, the minority populations, which as we can tell, the minority is very much starting to become the majority. So it's now the minority trying to subjugate the majority.
And the vegans are no worse.
And the vegans are no...
and like I said, I've got respect for everybody that because some people can't eat meat. Some people can't, and so...
Well, yeah, Kevin Smith is now pretty much on a self-imposed vegan diet, but that's for health reasons. He had a heart attack.
Exactly. So it does work for some, but I wouldn't like my child to go to because I think the protein that you get from chicken and the things the calcium you can get from milk and etc. I want my son to have, obviously in moderation, but
not your mom, not your milk.
Yeah, exactly. So this story actually shocked me, and I was a bit annoyed by it because I've got a 3-year-old, and it would annoy me, to be honest. I wouldn't go to the newspaper and tell them about it. I'd probably just write a stern letter and be like, "Give my son beef."
Now, would you be annoyed if your child wasn't fazed at all by the change in diet?
I just don't think that a 3-year-old knows what's happening to his body when he becomes vegan or whether he is. I don't think he knows that he's either benefiting or he's losing something. But we do, as parents, we know that he's not getting enough protein, not getting as much protein if he's not eating chicken. And I know there's protein in vegetables, but I don't want him to come and be like, oh, I don't want a lamb chop. Do you know, I don't like milk no more. I'll let him choose for himself. Unless my doctor comes up to me and says he's lactose intolerant or he can't eat gluten or something like that, then that's fair enough. That's a proper medical reason.
So
But
you would be more annoyed by the fact that your child is being open or exposed to a different lifestyle contrary to the one that you show them at home, and you would be afraid that that would somehow impact their thought process and the choices that they make, which would be contrary to basically the party line that you try to push at home.
I just feel there's no fucking need. First of all, there's no need. Like, we watch what my child eats, and
Yeah.
I don't need somebody to turn around to me and say, well, what you do for your child is wrong. We're going to do it my way. It's kind of snobby, I suppose, but at the same time, there's nothing wrong with what we're doing right now, so
Yeah.
let's keep it that way. I know my son.
If it's
Like
not
every
broke.
parent, don't fix it. Exactly. Perfect. And
Sorry, I had to play devil's advocate there for a little bit.
no, I wanted you to. That's a really good. I wanted someone to be like, no. Actually,
You're just being a little bitch. Your kid can be vegan at school and then be meat eater at home, and I mean, you wouldn't even know if the kid's not aware that his menu is being specifically planned to be vegan. I mean, unless the parent or the nursery owner sent out a flyer saying, "Hey, I've changed the menu at the school to be vegan only completely." Unless you got that, you would never know that your kid was being fed vegan.
yeah. And I was just reading through some of the comments, and they're oh my god! If the person from my nursery said this to me, I wouldn't be very happy at all. And they would basically come out and said, "You're obviously free to feed your child meat or fish on evenings and weekends. We are not forcing you to make your child vegan. There are plenty of vegan meat substitutes, so it's possible many of the kids wouldn't even notice much of a difference," which is what you've just said. But at the same time, I know it's going on. Oh, my son, like, you know what, right? When I was a kid, right, dinner times, if they had burgers in the canteen at dinner, I would be so happy. If they had pizza with pepperoni on it, I'd be really happy, Pizza, for Christ's sake. It's not even just meat. Like, you can't have a proper slice. Yeah, exactly. You can't have a proper slice of pizza that you would be used to here. I just think it's a bit obnoxious.
Does England even get a proper slice of pizza? I was unaware that you guys did pizza properly.
Yeah, we got Asda or Walmart, and they have the pizza counter. I mean, it's probably nothing like a slice you'd get from Chicago, but
that's it. You have your version of Walmart pizza.
They've got pizzas everywhere. We get Goodfellas in Chicago town and stuff.
That sounds mild or majorly depressing.
We got Domino's and Pizza Hut, and
you guys have Domino's?
Yeah,
really? Wow.
And Papa John.
Wow, you guys, sadly, you got the worst pizza that come out of this country.
Oh, Papa John's.
Papa John's, Domino's, and Pizza Hut are absolute shit.
And we get Pizza Express as well, which is like, they take a pizza and they're like, yeah, we're going to put this, and this on it. It's going to be fancy pizza. And we're going to double the price. It's really thin and shit. Yeah, that's what Pizza Express is. I like Pizza Hut. It's really good. We used to go to the buffet in the afternoon. Anyway, so what are your thoughts on this? How would you feel about this? Would you be bothered?
I've gotten to the point where shit like that's not going to trigger me anymore. I think I've been smoking too much weed. But I'm just like, let people do what they want to do, and be cool with everybody and just kind of chill, and you don't need to get angry over shit like that. Now, I think yeah, go on, sorry. If I'm going to get a newsletter from this nursery or whatever you want to call it, saying, hey, you should start feeding your kid vegan because we're feeding vegan, and meat eaters are bad, and then I start getting lectured by this said daycare center, then I'm probably going to pull my kid from the place.
Yeah,
Find
because that's
something
the
new.
worst.
But if all it is a change of menu, fuck, man. I I don't know. I just can't be motivated to get angry about that.
I think it just shows a bit of snobbery, doesn't it? I mean, that's the thing about vegan. I think the way people think about vegans are they feel so mighty and superior because they're vegan. That's what all the joke of vegan powers come from, because obviously that they know something we don't, right?
Well,
And
yeah,
I
they
think,
definitely do feel like they are on the moral high ground.
yeah, that's exactly how I'd put it. And I just don't want or need some woman to be like, I'm vegan, I'm superior, and you have to be too, and so does your child. No, 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 no. And I know that's not what it is, but that's how it sounds to me.
See,
When they
yeah,
say to me,
I don't
you
get
know,
that. I don't get
I
that
don't
whatsoever.
hear, oh, we're gonna replace everything that's like meat and dairy for stuff that isn't. I don't hear that. I hear you're a prick because you're not vegan. That's what I hear.
See, that's just because you're uncomfortable with your meat eating sexuality. I am
I want to
perfectly
eat.
comfortable in my meat eating habits, and my kid could be forced to be vegan at school all they want. They're gonna come home and they're gonna have a fucking piece of steak, and that's
When you've had
it.
a few, when you've had a few beers and you order pizza and you sat there waiting for it and you're really hungry, and it comes. Sometimes you're that hungry, you don't know whether to eat the pizza or strip naked and roll around on top of it. You get that excited, and I wouldn't want to take that from my little boy. So,
But he shouldn't be having that at school.
uh, well, no, not pizza. Imagine his nursery like, I can't be asked cooking today. Let's call Domino's.
I understand that the drinking age in England is a little less than that the U.S., but I think beer and pizza in nursery is a little premature.
It's a damn good. I was gonna say. I was just the idea of it. Like, no, yeah. I agree with you there. I definitely hold on off a few years before I start introducing my son to that. But yeah, okay. So
At least wait 4 years.
at least 4 years. Yeah, there's that picture, that meme that goes around with the baby with a pint of beer, and he's got his fingers in the air, and he's like, I've got a good story to tell you, man. Anyway, so yeah, that's my story about vegan. I labeled it as cheeky vegan scum. Oh, but no, I have got no problems with people that are vegans. I just don't want you to be like forcing the issue upon my son. So
Yeah.
back the fuck off and enjoy your goat's cheese. No, they can't even eat goat's cheese, can they? Enjoy your
Yeah, no goat
tofu.
cheese. Soy cheese.
Soy cheese, that's the one. There you go. We need anyway, so yeah, moving on. Let's just do one of your stories, shall we?
All right. So this one's marked as fuck me in my podcast little magazine on my news app where I save all the interesting articles that I want to talk about this week. The title of this article is After Craigslist Personals Go Dark, Sex Workers Fear What's Next.
What is this? I don't understand. I know what Craigslist is. It's a bit like eBay, right?
Now, Craigslist, so do you have like a penny saver or some sort of thing where you can basically say, hey, I'm selling my car, or hey, I'm selling my refrigerator?
There's a thing called Spock over here. Not Spock, it's Spock. It's weird.
Spock.
And it's like a car boot or flea market sale app.
Yes, Craigslist is essentially a flea market on the internet.
Yeah.
That also had a personal section. So lonely people could go on and say, hey, I need to fuck. And other lonely people could go on there and say, hey, that's interesting because I need to fuck too.
No way. So you can sell your old computer and you can
potentially have a one night stand with somebody that's about 500 pounds.
That's crazy.
That's typically what you would have seen. It's basically a bunch
So
of
you get prostitutes using this, then I
so
take
you
it
get
as well.
prostitutes using this, and then they use other sites that are similar to it. I don't know if you've heard of Backpage.
Nope. Back page. Nope. You
I
Americans are fucked up.
the
Like,
only reason why I think you're saying that is probably because your wife is awake in the other room hearing you, so you have to
uh,
have some sort of plausible deniability.
no, we don't have that, and my wife is actually out shopping at the moment. But we don't have that. We have lots of sordid things you can use. There's Badu. I think that's worldwide, isn't it? Badu. That's like a dating app, and there's um, plenty of fish and Tinder and all that shit. You know.
Yeah, but I
But
mean, the Backpage was predominantly used to buy prostitutes to advertise their wares.
no way. I mean, they got on Snapchat as well, don't they? Snapchat is a
Yeah,
big
I think
thing.
Snapchat is used for that, but usually they'll have an ad in Craigslist or Backpage saying, "Hey, look me up on the Snapchat." And then you can go to Snapchat or something like that, and you
These
know.
girls, they make me sick, right? You see them on Instagram, like spoil me, and you're like, no, I can, I can, I can get along by, if I was single, I can get along by fine enough without having to buy you a fucking diamond necklace. Like the people that do this shit,
So,
just the tyrants.
yeah.
Go on.
So the interesting thing about this article, recently, I believe it has either been signed or it's about to be signed by President Trump. Hashtag not my president. Hashtag my president, just so I can cover all of the potential listeners of the show and not
You could just say
anger anybody.
hashtag don't give a shit.
Hashtag go wank fucking yourself off. Um, so there is a bill that's either being passed or has been passed called Allow States and Victims to Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act.
Okay.
It's the name of the bill. It basically makes all websites liable for the content on their sites.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the ideal situation that this bill is supposed to stop is that if a site like Craigslist has options on their site that allows some seedy Eastern European dude selling Western European children to the Middle Eastern black market on this site, and the site knows about it, and the site doesn't do anything about it, then that
They're liable.
site is liable for the content that seedy Eastern European dude is putting on that site.
And I can see that. That's a good thing, because sex trafficking is diabolical, and they do need to do something.
It is good, but this article that I'm reading is from CNN, and it has a bit of a spin on it.
Let me hear this spin.
So I will read if I can find it. So this is how this article starts off. For a year and a half, River Stark took down all the mirrors in her home. Seeing her own reflection was, in quote, traumatizing for Stark. As a transgender woman who hadn't yet undergone the surgical treatment she knew she needed. Some days she couldn't leave the house. She tried taking her own life. An Army veteran living with a disability, she could not get the surgical care for her own from her usual provider as the Department of Veteran Affairs does not pay for or perform gender transition related surgeries. In quote, sex work provided me the money to be able to change that, Stark, 33, says. That is the only thing that has literally saved my life. Referencing sex work. This is a transgendered prostitute who is trying to earn the money to get the sex change by taking it in the ass and giving head.
But surely you move on to, well, that's kind of your problem, really.
And she is now being forced to work on the streets because all of the sites that she used to post her services on are now removing the ability to post such ads.
Do
And
we
now
feel bad?
she can't perform her usual screening process on potential Johns, and she can't work out of the safety of her own home or hotel.
I don't know how to swallow
And
this.
that is why this bill is bad. Fuck the children, literally, so that this sex worker can afford to pay for her transgender surgery.
Okay.
That's
okay.
the spin that CNN has put on this.
And like, I feel for people that struggle with this, but it's like saying I really like crack cocaine, and without it, I have fits, and I can't eat, and I shake, and I don't sleep. So I should be allowed to buy crack cocaine, which is illegal. Am I right?
Yeah.
Because sex solicitation is illegal still, isn't it? Like, I mean,
In the
I know
U.S., except for I think it's 1 or 2 counties in the state of Nevada,
yeah.
prostitution is illegal in the United States.
So, I mean, this has been going on for a long time now. These girls that accept gifts and advertise themselves as escorts, you know what's going on. Like, it doesn't take a genius. And I'm sure Donald Trump's never used a prostitute before, But yeah, I can see, like, to sacrifice the sex workers being able to do things safely, we protect children. Which that's the precedence there, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of, I think it's extremely arrogant and self-serving to bitch and complain about something like this. But then I also think that this only solves half the problem. Personally, I think prostitution needs to become legalized and regulated within the U.S. We need to be like, I think it's 90 to 80% of the mainland countries in Europe have legalized and in some cases unionized prostitution.
And it is, they do. I've heard the phrase before saying it's the oldest trade in the world, and it's right. For thousands of years, women have been selling themselves, and it's not going to stop. Like, they've never been able to stop prostitution. So, we should make it safer for them. So give them something that they can use. That is, and then See, the internet is such a dark place because you don't know anyone's true identity.
Yeah.
So when you say like you like, okay, here is assfucking.com where you can sell your sex and you can do it safely. Like there's like 50-year-olds that pretend to be 13-year-olds and
well,
stuff
that's
like,
what you have to do is you have to take the anonymity out of it. And I mean, I think we've proven that we can become very non-anonymous on the internet. Just look at Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
Twitter, not so much, but definitely Facebook and Instagram. I mean, you're not anonymous on that at all.
Well, you can tell it. You can, and even if you are, you can tell a troll from a mile off, can't you?
Yeah.
I mean, I admin the Garmy, and we have people coming in and out. And when I have to accept them, you look at their profile, and it's like pictures of the Patriots logo for like from now until 2008. The same picture. It's like, well, no, sorry, mate. Yeah, it's a difficult one because the internet is so vast, and there's so many corners you can cut that I can see the reason why they're gonna do this, and I welcome it. To be honest, I don't use prostitutes; it doesn't bother me, so fuck them. No, that doesn't sound right, but
but no, I think the proper way of solving this problem is allowing sites to go on that properly screen people advertising.
Yeah.
Each actual prostitutes have to, or sex workers as they like to be called. I don't identify as a prostitute. I identify as a sex worker. I'm kind of a sex worker protector.
We have rights,
We got rights, man. Sex workers should be properly vetted to advertise on this theoretical site, and then patrons of these sex workers have to submit full identification information to be completely identified and verify their identity, have them go through background checks to make sure they don't have a history of choking a bitch, and then, allow for a economically sustainable transactions to be able to take place. And
And do you know what? If you created some sort of corporation, there's some big money to be made here. Imagine like the sex worker equivalent of Uber. You pick up your phone, you dial a number, and a bitch turns up at your door in 15 minutes.
And she's verified to be STD free.
Yeah.
And you've been verified to be psycho killer free.
And she's not 14. There you go.
And she's not 14. She's 15.
Yeah, it's dodgy ground, and without risk of saying something like that's completely wrong and shouldn't be saying anything. I think we should definitely look after the children. That goes without saying, and then pick up the problem with sex working afterwards.
Exactly.
Yeah, sign the bill, give the sex workers that problem for now, and then find a way to deal with it afterwards.
Yep.
That's my theory on it.
Yep. Yeah. All right.
Good topic. I like. Oh man, I love this show.
I love you, man.
I love you, man. Okay, so I found this story that I found really interesting. I like to look at different types of stories, and last week I talked about technology, and I'm going to this week. And there's these new scanners that they're trying out now, and these scanners, they can sit in conference rooms or interview scenarios, and they basically scan it's a bit like heat vision, but it looks at your complete body chemistry, your heart rate, your temperature. And this woman that sat here, you can pretty much see her body form. It's like the scanners from the airport.
Okay.
And it's made by Dolby Labs, and basically it's designed so that they can interview people, and basically it's like a lie detector test. So
Really?
for people that are going to be interviewed for jobs like the CIA or airport security or something like that, you can't really lie because your heart goes up. And some people can
psychopaths can get past those pretty easily.
Exactly. So like with this, you're probably not going to be able to, because if you're trying to like calm your heart down and stuff, maybe your temperature goes up, or you perspire a bit more, or something like this. I don't know. And yeah, I think it's a bit, it's great in very
limited applications.
No, I just think in very extreme circumstances, like I said, those job roles, you kind of could welcome that. But can you imagine, like, look, a good few years ago, a computer filled a fucking room. Camcorders used to have to be carried on their shoulder, and they were like £500 just for the cameras. Now we've got all that shit on our phone. So this stuff could be like made extremely fucking accessible and can be put anywhere. And I'm not too happy about that.
Well, yeah, it's almost like this is a software thing. The hardware thing is pretty much just whatever is imaging your person. So this would theoretically be an iPhone app.
There's a paragraph here that says, using thermal imaging cameras, mind-reading electron phallogram, long word.
We'll post it in the comments.
And skin response sensors. She can watch how volunteers' bodies and minds respond to what they watch on a screen. So, like, you don't have to say anything, and they can, like we were talking last week about that the app that can read your mind before you say anything.
Yeah,
that is exactly where this fits in, and that to me is scary. We're talking about how positive that was. This is scary. I mean, it's great for a security sense. People walking through an airport with this briefcase thinking, don't set off the bomb, don't set off the bomb, don't set off the bomb. That's great.
Yeah, you want to catch people that are freaking out about shit like that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that is great. Like I said, that's great. But what if they like put this in watches, or put it in like in schools about children? Look for who's scared and vulnerable, and it's quite scary to me.
Well, I would actually almost argue that it should go into schools, because if you got some kid that's scared and vulnerable, he's probably scared and vulnerable because he's got some sort of semi-automatic weapon in his backpack, and he's not quite sure yet if he's convinced himself that he's going to shoot up that school.
Yeah, I thought you were going to take it down like the abuse route. That was completely unexpected. Yeah, I mean,
dude, I live in America. School shootings happen on a weekly basis here.
So yeah, it's good for a couple of good reasons, but also it's a bit invasive.
It is, but doesn't the UK have a network of security cameras throughout most of the major cities that have very sophisticated facial recognition software attached to it?
There's no way you can go in London without being seen. I think London is one of the most CCTV prolific cities in the world. There's no way you can go. This is why they catch people so quickly. You can stab a motherfucker up and then you can run, but they will follow you for miles and miles and miles through CCTV alone. So yeah, I mean, that's good. If someone totals me for my phone, I want my phone back. So,
no, I hear you. But I mean, I think that's just kind of the price you pay for security, don't you?
Yeah, but there's also the Big Brother effect as well. So say these scanners are everywhere, and they're everywhere, like we know the CCTV. After a while, you forget they're there, and you start picking your nose, and you start jacking off to porn with your laptop open. You don't give a shit that someone could be looking at you through the camera. These kind of things, we know they're there. We've been told over and over again, but we just crack on anyway. We do. And my theory is, if you're not doing anything wrong, then what's to hide? But so that's kind of how life is, and it's been proven time and time again. These things, my point is, if these things were to become a common practice, would we even care?
I think that's where we start to sense a cultural difference between, the two Western civilizations. Is you got a group of people that don't mind being stared at constantly by some sort of authoritative power, and then you got some crazy motherfuckers that live out in the fucking cornfields or the desert
in the boobies
that are damn paranoid that them Democrats are looking at them jerking off to their cousin porn.
Sorry, you cracked me. Yeah.
And I got to give you something for your little zip reels that you do to promote the site. I got to give you a sound bite. I got to give you them sound bites.
I was mighty proud of that sound file. I listened to that about 18 times. Let's talk about the next story you've got. I'm interested about this.
Oh, you want me to go next? Oh yeah, because you just went. Duh. All right. So the next story is about the wonders of legalized marijuana.
Yeah.
So this article. So weed has started to become more and more accepted in the U.S. And a nice little handful of states have legalized it for both recreational and medicinal use, and even more states have legalized medicinal use. But you got these reputable. I don't know. I've never heard of. Have you ever heard of the independent? Of course, you've heard of the Independent. Independent.co.uk.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a shitty newspaper over here. Yeah.
Okay. That's where this article comes from. So that's going to set the tone for the next 10 minutes.
Yeah. Talk about US through a UK rag. Go on. What do they say?
Marijuana linked to unbearable, in quotes, sickness across U.S. as use grows following legalization. So this unbearable sickness is what you tried to pronounce in the intro to this.
Cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome.
Basically, you get this, and it causes uncontrolled vomiting, diarrhea, nausea, stomach cramps.
So it's not very nice.
It's not
Very,
it's not pleasant, but you get it after months of sustained use of weed. Like
okay.
you're fucking waking and baking and staying baked all day for months
Yeah, it's not good for you. Not
before
good for
you
you.
get this. I mean, saying that this is bad is like saying, "Oh, you can get pancreatitis from drinking alcohol for a year straight without eating food."
Yeah, and that's a great point as well. Like the way where I work, like cannabis runs through the veins of that place. You know, like most young people, not a lot, not everyone, but most they smoke weed, and you know it's not legal, but people like nowadays kind of like, oh, it's only weed, you know. But we try and deal with it because we've seen the effects that it has on people, and like I've seen the nicest people just get destroyed by just constant chonging, you know.
Yeah.
And the way I say it is, you just put it into better terms than what I'm going to say, but treat it like vodka. Yeah. Like weed is vodka. If you
Handle
sat and
your fucking high.
exactly, yeah. So if you sat and drank a whole liter of fucking vodka every night, 7 days a week, you're a pisshead. You're an alcoholic, and you're deemed um
Social
failure to
deviant.
exactly. So handle your high. You know, treat it like you'd have a few beers at the end of the night. You know, you don't have to sit there and get stoned every day.
Smoke
And
a joint.
yeah, not the joint, the fucking whole joint, not a whole fucking pork joint. No, look, yeah, take your time, ease yourself into it, and pace yourself. You know,
Yeah, it's if you can't get high off of a single joint, take a fucking tolerance vacation.
exactly. Yeah, it's like that. It's like when masturbation becomes boring. You got to give it up for a couple of days. You know.
Yeah, if you're just shooting powder, fucking
And do you know what? Actually, what this could be is it's obviously circulated around the UK, and people are shouting out, "Oh, well, it's legal in some places in America. Why can't we legalize it here?"
oh
People have been banging their heads against tables trying to get it legal over here, and it could be some sort of propaganda style news headline to kind of say, "Well, America have done it, and look what's happening over there."
yeah,
That's what
they're
that
getting
sounds like to
stomach
me.
cramps and vomiting. Yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to bring this article up, not to showcase the dangers of smoking weed, but to showcase the dangers of propaganda by the machines that want to control our ability to uh enjoy a naturally occurring. I'm going to sound like a total stoner right now. A naturally occurring, herbal remedy that can help actually is given to people to treat nausea and to allow cancer patients to eat and allow people that have PTSD to not freak out on their family and loved ones and allow people to, get out of their heads for, a night and not have to worry about a hangover in the morning.
And like it just drives me crazy, and it does bounce around my head like fucking pong. And it's like, how can things like sambuca and absinthe and even fucking salvia in some places be legal? You know, like if you get fired up on vodka, a lot of people want to fight. You know, how can that be legal? But something that chills you out so much that could be moderated as well. You know, because they do moderate it in the US, not like here, buy it ounce by ounce and go and smoke it in the streets. They like keep the bag locked and take it home. Like, you know, so if it could be monitored and regulated, how can that be? It doesn't. It just drives me crazy. You know, what did cannabis do to society for it to hate it so much? You know.
It made other industries non-profitable.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. Cannabis oil is meant to be really good, isn't it?
Cannabis oil is really good. Hemp from the male plant is extremely useful. And
Yeah, it used to be our money. All our money used to be made out of hemp.
a lot of shit used to be made out of hemp until the cotton people are like, hey, well, we got this thing called cotton. We don't know what to do with it because hemp is kind of doing it all, but let's use cotton now because cotton's cool and it's white. Because go white power.
So you think that, well, I say think, and I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, that you think that this is all propaganda to stop.
Well, just like the wine industry was one of the main contributing factors to absinthe being demonized for so long.
Okay. And what about these big corporations that make medicine? So the people that make cancer treatment, for example, and make millions and millions and millions a year off people buying them. If they found out there was a cannabis substitute that they could use instead, that was like a quarter, like a tenth the price. This is why it's illegal, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, it sounds fishy to me.
Yeah. Smells fishy too.
So how is it going over there with the legalization? I mean, we don't hear much about it.
You know,
Are people embracing it? Is it done well?
the states that are doing it, you'll still have publications like the Independent that are going to take one person's bad experience and try to push it on everybody else. But for the most part, the education departments of the states that have it legalized and are using it to get funding from the taxes of marijuana, public works, I mean, everything seems to be going very well. It's still really early. I mean, I think it's going to take at least like 20 years to get a good data set. But so far, so good for the most part.
Well done, America. Well done. I know for a fact that if they do legalize it over in the UK, people will just go fucking nuts. I mean, you can't go to the park with your children nowadays without smoking weed. Like, if they legalize it, it's just going to be everywhere. And like, you know, I've had my years of being a stoner.
But that's the thing, is it's not everywhere. Because in England, can you legally have can you publicly display drinking alcohol? Can you drink alcohol in public places?
No, if you're sat outside a mall or a shopping center with a bottle of wine or something, the police, if they catch you, they'll just pour it out in front of you.
Yeah, I imagine once you guys start having some legalization of marijuana, that will be what happens when the police catches somebody smoking weed. They'll just grab it out of your face and probably just step on it and be like, "Hey, do that at home, mate."
Yeah. Yeah, people will go nuts. And, you know, in places like mine where I work, they're not allowed to smoke normal cigarettes in their room. So I suppose that's an advantage for my place. But imagine smoking it around the kids, you know, all the time, all day, every day.
You don't do it. I mean, but I mean, people do that with alcohol. They drink around their kids all day, every day.
Yeah,
so you can't really distinguish it from one from the other. I mean, it's no different than doing one or the other, and you shouldn't do either.
No, you shouldn't. And this leads back to alcohol is just as bad, if not worse, than weed, you know?
Exactly.
And cigarettes as well. We were just having a conversation off air about cigarettes and vaping and stuff like that, you know? And cigarettes, I've only been smoking properly again for about 3 weeks. And I feel it, man. I feel it. I feel slow and I feel sluggish and I hate it. I'll get my vape up and running again and I'm going to stop. But yeah, it's terrible, you know? So yeah, great story, but we just don't know where it's come from because it sounds very propaganda-y to me.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that the discussion was out there, that it's not all fear and loathing in Las Vegas.
It sounds like, well, America are doing it. Yes, but did you know that America's got stomach and the shits and
Yeah,
that's what it sounds like. So yeah, great story. Okay, so great stories this week. We've had we only had 2 each, but they've been great stories. So we've talked a lot about them, and I hope you've really enjoyed the show because me and Garrett love bringing it to you. And hopefully, well, we're going to be back next week. Just hope you guys join us.
Yes, we hope you joined us for the first one.
But yeah, anyway, guys, thank you for joining us, and we will catch you guys exactly the same time next week.
See you around.
Peace out, y'all.